breaking. If you believe that the drama involving Kirk and young Jock was already well known, you should reconsider. Once forging her own way on the show, Kendra is now siding with Mona Scott, and these two are once again at the center of the storm. Simply evolved into a single, massive scandal that was unexpected. As usual, Kirk's defense of Rashida has escalated the situation to a new level. When Rashida publicly attacked Mona Scott, the entire set descended into mayhem. What led to this startling altercation? Hold on to your seats, because the set of one of the most well-known reality series ever took a crazy turn. The rapper-turned-reality TV star Rashida recently made a strong jab at Mona Scott, the creator of the program that has been generating a lot of buzz for years. Rashida's attack on Mona Scott goes beyond a simple verbal altercation. It's all drama. Kendra is trying to manipulate the situation to fit her own goals with Mona Scott and young Jacques, who has already been under scrutiny for his previous scandals. It's now being brought into the fray. To be honest, that may build or break reputations, destroy careers, and change alliances. The details are considerably stranger than you might think, so if you're wondering how it all transpired, keep reading. Let's talk about the cast and the reasons their relationships and behavior have been in the news for so long before we get into Rashida's public meltdown. You are likely familiar with Kirk, the man who has created a reputation for himself by getting caught in the thick of controversy. And young Jacques, the man who can't seem to keep out of trouble, if you have been watching the drama. Is Kendra, the woman who has consistently clashed with some of the most well-known personalities on this show? She has been making a name for herself for years by hanging around with powerful people and putting into her job. But in a shocking change of events, she is suddenly caught in the crossfire between Mona Scott and Rashida. Rashida's assertion that Mona Scott herself planned the whole thing raised doubts about Kendra's devotion. How did this all happen? You might be asking yourself. Well, bring some popcorn, because this is going to get personal. For those of you who don't know, Juicier Rashida is no stranger to the limelight. Rashida is a seasoned rapper and entrepreneur who has made a name for herself by staying resilient, determined, and above all unrepentant. Her presence has been a driving force for ratings and audience engagement, making her one of the show's key figures. However, this pillar of strength suddenly collapsed. You are aware of the type of drama that is constantly simmering. If you have watched even one episode of this reality show, no one is ever out of the news for very long because of the cast members' ability to cause mayhem for the cameras. Rashida's public assault on Mona Scott seemed personal and wasn't simply your average stage drama. Occurred because Rashida had been dissatisfied with the show's management for some time and believed that her image was being used to boost ratings, according to insider knowledge and leaked claims. In spite of her best attempts to stay true to her brand, Mona Scott was using the backstage operations of the show to highlight the most contentious cast members. Rashida had finally had enough. Therefore, her attack was a planned action rather than an unplanned outburst. Let's take a moment to be honest. For once, Rashida wasn't going to be the target of abuse, even if the show's success depended on turmoil. She threw everything she had at Mona Scott. As the cameras were rolling, the altercation broke out on site. Obviously, without an audience, nothing occurs. Allegedly, Rashida confronted Mona Scott in front of the cast and crew, accusing the producer of taking advantage of her and portraying her as someone she wasn't. Mona, the expert, attempted to maintain her composure and, according to reports, young Jacques, who has a tendency to cause problems, was seated close by and observed the drama play out. He had ideas, of course, and he would soon voice them given his knowledge of Jacques. But before he could respond, Rashida's loyal husband, Kirk, entered the argument, supporting his wife's behavior and accusing Mona Scott of fostering a hostile work environment, when Kendra, who usually keeps her cards close to the vest. Suddenly, through her support for Mona, the situation became even more heated. After all the drama that had occurred, her support for Mona was practically a double betrayal. Scott, some ERUPTS claimed that Kendra was just acting in this way because she needed Mona's help to climb the reality TV ladder and had more ambitious plans. Data. It's reasonable to believe that Kendra purposefully placed herself in the middle of this mayhem to build her reputation. The storm is brewing, and things will only get worse from here. That's it. There are more significant consequences than simply one actress losing it. But Rasheeda's bold decision to confront Mona Scott has set off a chain of events that will alter the program forever. The public is left wondering what will happen next as the mayhem unfolds, and there is a lot of drama, legal action, and public backlash in the works. What does that mean for Mona Scott and the other cast members, such as Kendra and young Jock, Kirk, and how far will Rasheeda go to make sure her voice is heard? Things become messy just when you think they can't. The tension behind the scenes exploded like a ticking time bomb following Rasheeda's on-set outburst. Cameras captured every backhanded comment, side-eye and eye-roll as producers rushed. Mona Scott may have made an effort to appear composed, but chaos broke out behind the scenes. The next morning, word got out like wildfire. Rasheeda had been officially removed from the cast lineup, dismissed, blacklisted, and gone. According to sources, some of whom claimed to be assistants, hairstylists, and even an anonymous grip from the set. But it did not sit well with the fans. Conspiracy theories regarding Mona Scott's grudge against any cast member who dared to speak out surfaced on Reddit, TikTok, Twitter, and other platforms. It turned out that she wasn't the only one expelled. Yes, and Kirk was also booted. All of the AUGs who are too familiar with the game and are unwilling to sell their souls are being eliminated, because the producers stated that they needed a new cast direction with less history and more heat. Not to mention Kendra, who gave the impression that her baby daughter was safe. In the hopes of winning a gleaming seat at the top, she played the loyal card and backed Mona Scott. But, in the dramatic words of one insider, they believed that continuing to have him on the show would fan the flames. Producers were tired of her erratic behavior on camera, according to another unnamed source. Using a lawyer's title, one accused executive referred to her as background noise. Can you believe that she was still tossed like the narrative of the previous season, despite all of that turmoil and betrayal? One user wrote, "She just fired the only people keeping the show alive. Who's next? The camera guy." Another user wrote, "You can't fire Rashida and expect us to keep watching. She's the glue. Boo." The post's headline, "Mona cleaning house or committing career suicide," sent fans into a frenzy. Then came the shocking revelation. A leaked audio tape allegedly showed Rashida having an angry phone conversation with someone believed to be young Jock after being fired. The male speaker replies, "Man, we should have bounced last season." Nothing but puppets to her. You know how the internet works. The lady in the video, who is purportedly on the phone, says she'd been plotting on me. Mona has never wanted me to shine. She just needed me to be quiet. Mona Scott was accused of being a manipulative producer who pits black women against one another for financial gain. Sometimes growth requires change. Can't carry dead weight if you're trying to fly. Dead weight, that's what she called the Augs. Let's just say that line did not land well with the fan base. Naturally, Mona Scott didn't sit back and do nothing. While the hashtag boycott Mona Scott was trending for the entire day. Using her traditional businesswoman persona, she responded to her followers on Instagram Live in a calm, polished, and practiced manner. Guess who made the shady decision in the middle of all this online chaos? People immediately assumed that the fired cast members might be working on something behind the scenes, such as a new show, spin-off, or even a tell-all. After young Jock shared an enigmatic Instagram story of him laughing in a bathrobe, with the caption unbothered, "We been knew what it was, new money loading." One person tweeted, "Who made your show iconic?" A compilation video of Rasheeda, Kirk, young Jock, and Kendra's most well-known moments was shared by another. A competing network has approached Rasheeda and the others to develop a new reality concept that exposes the truth about how these harmful shows were made. What if the ex-crew had come back as whistleblowers instead of shady characters? It would be poetic justice. Kendra, who has always been silent, suddenly broke the silence. Loyalty is a two-way street, and some of y'all only drive one direction. She posted a single black and white selfie with the caption, "Simple, clean, and oh so shady," while some argued that she was mature and sophisticated. Okay? Others begged her to drop her seats, and fear not, the drama is far from over. Insiders claim that Mona Scott is over the cast members she helped create, as well as the public reaction. According to some sources, she is now threatening to sue young Jock and Rashida for breach of contract if they try to start or participate in a competing project too soon. According to one insider, Mona was even heard stating, "They want to burn down the house I built. Not on my watch." Ooh Baby is now more than just reality TV. Viewers are digesting everything, and the battle between producers and artists is starting to resemble a real-life situation. After watching breakdowns of the fallout on YouTube T channels with clickbait thumbnails that depict Rashida with devil horns and Mona Scott with flames behind her, everyone is curious about what actually transpired behind those cameras. There's more though. Rashida made a surprising move when she shared a photo of herself outside a studio, a music studio. To be exact, with the caption, "Back to my roots. I don't need reality to be real." Is it a subtle hint that she's done with the drama and is going back to music, or is it just another way of letting Mona Scott know that she's the brand and doesn't need your cameras? We are just getting started, and no matter what her plan is, one thing is for sure. She is not leaving quietly. Shade, betrayals, and firings are only the start of the true mayhem that will soon unfold behind closed doors. There are reports of sequences that were altered to portray people as villains, footage that never aired, and perhaps even a complete exodus of talented individuals prepared to present their case. You would think that things would start to settle down now that Rashida Kirk, young Jacques, and Kendra, of whom are online and on the show, are still at odds. It's not even the climax yet, family, so this isn't that kind of story. Next, man's current situation is reminiscent of a scandal-filled Netflix series. When Rashida hinted at returning to music, fans were left curious, excited, and doubtful. But guess what happened next? An enigmatic film featuring a gritty voice narrating. Their stories without names or faces surfaced online. It fades to dark brew, but now is the moment to speak the truth. Everyone started to speculate whether the spin-off involved Rashida and Jock, whether Kirk would finally talk about his real behind-the-scenes conflict with production, or whether Kendra would finally disclose what had actually transpired at that time. When the reunion tape was being recorded, people were screaming for answers, and then the leaks started. Screenshots of alleged communications between the production team and network officials were shared by an anonymous source, exposing significant conflict between Mona Scott and the Strange cast. We have to keep a tighter leash on Rashida. She's gaining too much control over her narrative. Wait, what? That was mentioned in one of the emails. The notion that these reality stars were being edited and controlled to fit a profit-driven narrative rather than simply expressing their truth on camera was enough to incite widespread protests from followers. We're incensed, so young Jock once again grabbed center stage. In less than 15 minutes, his Instagram live performance this time drew over 200,000 spectators. The man appeared composed, cool, and polished. "I wasn't going to say anything, but since you all keep asking," he said at the start, before dropping one bomb after another. He said that some of his breakups weren't true, and that producers had told him to make his romances seem more dramatic. And here's the thing. He said that Kendra was edited to make her seem stiff and uncaring, when in fact, she was the only one trying to be polite. Additionally, he proposed that scenes were patched together, even though they were shot months apart to create the illusion that Mayhem was normally keeping a low profile. Kirk decided he was done playing nice and posted a 2-minute video titled "They Tried to Bury Me." Without any ostentatious edits or music, he looked straight into the camera and said, "They knew who I was before I came on this show. They used my marriage. They used my loyalty. Turned me into a storyline." He even said something that left fans stunned. "If you only knew how many times they tried, they played chess with our lives." The video went viral on the internet. According to industry insiders, Mona Scott allegedly called networks to try to stop the AUGs from pitching fresh programming. Going into full crisis control mode behind closed doors? Not every staff member was for sale, but some even assert that she gave hush money to some of them to prevent them from discussing what they witnessed on set. Set Girl 32, a former production assistant, posted a thread on her old Twitter account about everything she witnessed during season 9, saying that some fights were encouraged and that the cast members were told who to dispute with. And if they didn't cry enough, painful sequences had to be reshot. She further asserted that the producer's office had a taped list of narrative priorities. The situation becomes much more bizarre when she asks what was put under Rasheeda's name. Strong? Wife, but always forgive him in the end, man. In a lengthy interview with a Black-owned media source on YouTube, Kendra had remained silent since her One-Way Street post described her entire experience on the show, including how it harmed her legal career, how her family begged her to leave, and how she often felt stuck. "I signed up to demonstrate that a Black woman is not a villain," she stated. "Be strong and still be loved. But instead, they made me cold, bitter, and replaceable." Her voice was so powerful that even the interviewer was shocked. She received a ton of support in the comment section, with people telling her to sue and others urging her to collaborate with Rashida and Young Jock on this new project. 2 weeks later, there was an official teaser, and guess who the executive producers were? Rashida, Young, Jock, and Kendra. They took their trauma, suffering, and drama and turned it into power. The show promises to offer unvarnished, unfiltered access. Fans were shaken by the teaser, which